Offender in custody. Thanks. If anyone else calls 2052 restaurant, let me know.
There's so much to talk about. Still no response. I don't know. Anybody out here in the community, if you've sent a letter, have you gotten a response yet? I still haven't. Like I said, if I get a response, if I'm not live, I'll do a little short video or a community post or something. So you'll know as soon as I get a response. Unfortunately, I don't have one yet. It's been quite a while. It doesn't make sense, doesn't it? Especially when we watch the videos and they say themselves. It's about getting the information to the public, so hopefully these missing loved ones can get found quicker, right? What's wrong with the time and location? I'm not saying the lights don't matter. I'm not saying none of this matters, right? The green hoodie. I'm not saying it don't matter. What I'm saying is the topics tonight, tomorrow, yesterday, the day before, the biggest question we have, and we're just asking for, is the time and location of the sighting on February 26th, if it really exists or don't. Because it's a completely different scenario if he was seen. Okay, time and location, foul play or not, it doesn't matter. That gets put out to the public. Why it hasn't put out to the public this whole time, we don't know. You know, the reason we've been discussing it for a month is because my inner team can sit there and tell you, the angels can tell you, I've constantly, when it comes to every 25th of every month, I've said, all right, it's been this many months now because of the 25th, right? Because last seen from his mom when he was going to his bedroom between 9 and 10. Between 9 and 10. That's the 25th. And when people, not just myself, when multiple people are reaching out to the people, you want to answer somebody just 50 minutes later from 12:09 to 12:50. It didn't take you that long for that. Why is it taking so long for a time and location? Because it's two totally different scenarios. If it was last seen at 11:42 p.m. at Beach High School, than it is of a scenario of last seen at mom's house between the hours of 9 and 10 p.m. on the 25th. Two totally different scenarios. The reason I sit there and say, if we get an answer to the real last scene, and that's why I'm saying real, because right now, it's been how long and nobody can answer that question to multiple people, time and location. This is a missing child's case, right? The time and location of a witness sighting is just as important as his name, his weight, his height, hair color, eye color, clothes last seen in. I'm passionate about this. So not saying that the other stuff that we're going to discuss is less, but what I'm saying is we need the answer first before we discuss flashlights, before we discuss green hoodie, before we do shows on all this other stuff. We need to talk about the last scene, because just to say in the area of Stafford Court, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for Sebastian either. And to sit there and think that we can just not respond to the general public, where this case also affects any other missing persons case in the world, not just the United States, but in the world. Because if you can't answer a simple question as to time and location of the witness sighting, well, what are we doing? Foul play or not? What are we doing? You answer that question first then all the flashlights and the green hoodies and the scanned images, satellite photos, all of the old interviews, all this other stuff. That stuff doesn't compare to Last Seen, because we could talk about all that other stuff right now, and guess what? Because we're talking about it as if he was last seen on February 26th, right? But what happens if in fact that witness sighting is not true? Oh gosh, now we got to go back again and re-go over this stuff, because now it takes on a different meaning. And what I'm trying to say is that takes time. Time that Sebastian doesn't have. Think of all the hours that we're focusing on all these other things. And they do mean a lot, right? I'm not saying they don't. But think of all the time that has been spent on all these other things when we should have been spending it on Last Seen. Because what happens if it doesn't exist? Then the Last Seen goes back to Mom's house, and then all of a sudden we got to redo the same work we just did when we already are losing time to try and find Sebastian. The last thing we need is to have all this extra stuff piled on our plates just to try and find Sebastian, when all we had to do was put the pressure in the first place of the Last Seen. Let's do it for Sebastian. As I'm sitting here and it's like, okay, the days are going by, the weeks are going by. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it's still about this and that and this and that, when we're sitting here this whole time still waiting for an answer to a time and location. Sebastian doesn't have the extra time. This is why it's one of the only times, and it's probably the only time that I can think of, that literally when I cut down, I literally took the hour and 50-minute version, I cut it down to 30. Because I'm like, I don't know what else I can do. I got to explain why I came out with the community post, because there's some people that are just coming across the community post that didn't see going through all the statements, and they're like, no, this is not the facts. And it's like, duh, because these are all part of statements that LE made. Let me put out a 30-minute video. Let me condense it, so that way it's easier. Because this is important. This is the most important right now. And I don't even care if I get an answer. I've told you that when I first put out the community post and I did the show. I said, I don't care if I get the answer and I'm the one showing the answer on a video, right? I don't care. What I do care about is the fact that it gets answered. Because you can't tell me the time and location of the witness sighting on February 26th doesn't matter and shouldn't be and shouldn't have been released to the public from the first time that it was noticed or witnessed, foul play or not. I'm sitting here talking about Coffindaffer days ago. Coffindaffer, would you please talk about the Last Seen? I've been in the chats. Would you please talk about the Last Seen? No, it's about flashlights. It's like, come on, Coffindaffer. What other investigation do you know of where if there is a witness sighting of somebody, even if it's another crime, if there's a witness sighting of somebody in a crime, perpetrator or victim, does the time and location not get put out? What other investigation have you been a part of where you can say that has happened? I mean, it's these things that I'm sitting here trying to reach out. We can talk about all this stuff. Guess what? The flashlights mean one thing when he was last seen on February 26th, but do the flashlights mean completely something else with a lot more validation if we find out the witness statement is not true on the 26th. This is why it needs to be answered. I don't need it answered. They can answer number 450. They can answer number 4050. They can answer number 44,500. I don't care. And I hope they put it out there if they get a response, because I don't care who it is. What I do care about is Sebastian. What I do care about is Sebastian being able to have the last time and location of somebody that's seen him and where they seen him, so people know it's about finding Sebastian. Does the witness time and location help us get closer? No matter what the answer is, because either we know a certain time and a certain place he was at, and we can go, all right, here we go. Or if we find out the answer is not true, we also get closer to finding Sebastian, right? And even if there's foul play, and they're saying no foul play, even if there is foul play, it never hinders any investigation. This is why I was asking Jennifer Cofferdaffer, what other investigation do you know of where this has taken place? Any foul play investigation will include a time and a location of a witness sighting, and it doesn't ever hinder any investigation 100%. In fact, it does nothing but help an investigation 150%. That's why I keep encouraging. That's why I'm going to continue and talk about it every intro of every show until we get an answer, until somebody gets an answer, because Sebastian deserves the answer. It wasn't even a topic until a month ago from us, because the whole time, like I was saying earlier, I was sitting there every 25th, I would tell my team, here's the next month, prayers and all this stuff, you know, the 25th of December. And I'm like, oh, this is tough. It's Christmas. It's 10 months now. It's 10 months. Oh, this has got to be a horrible Christmas, you know. Hopefully today's the day that they find him, you know. And then the next day I'm seeing all these 10-month videos and I'm going, what? What is this 10-month? The 10 months was on Christmas. What are all these 10-month videos people are doing? So then I really start looking at this. I'm like, okay, but it just says in the area. I start looking at me and the team, we're gathering all the different statements and all this other stuff, and we're looking into it, and I'm like, no, you guys, no. We need to start talking about this. Been talking about it ever since, and I'm not going to stop, because there's no reason whatsoever there shouldn't be an answer to a time and location if the witness sighting was real. Now, I told you guys before, a couple shows ago, where I did the dispatch audio. You can see it in the live section in the title, where I go through the dispatch audio. I show you guys them naming the locations that are by all these different statements. And if you're using the dispatch audio events that took place as your sighting for Sebastian Rogers in the morning hours, then why haven't you been able to give a time and location? Because you say it yourself. It's about making sure the public gets the information. So hopefully, especially time, location, clothing, when it comes to try and find these missing loved ones, hopefully quicker. It's your own words. Just like the community post, just like all the statements, everything that I'm discussing. It's your own words. I'm just asking a simple question. I even did the work for you with the community post. I broke it all down for you. I'm just asking what's true and what's not true. Because even if you don't want to come out with a new statement, at least we know what's true and not true when it comes to the community posts that I put out there for you. Now, it might be a little bit too much. Some people have just sent, can you please share the time and location of the witness sighting on February 26th? And they don't even get answers as well. They don't even get answers as well. Again, anybody that is in chat right now, or if you're watching on replay and you've sent a letter out to any of the agencies involved, have any of you gotten a response from any of them regarding the time and location of the witness sighting on February 26th? Let me know. I'll take a couple sips of coffee. Yeah, that's what I thought. And why is that? It's the first time I ever tagged a whole bunch of people in my video on YouTube. It's the first time I tagged a whole, News Nation, Court TV, Coffin Daffer, Dog, Deception Detective, right? Deception Detective going through the video. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, people, this is what here's the letter, right? Here's the letter. Here's all the different statements, the dates, the who sent, who stated it, who posted it. You want to talk about deception, right? The fact that none of us have gotten a response. Maybe he could send out the letter too. Hello, it's deception already. I can't help how passionate I am about this because, like I said, I sit there and I think about the family that's in the middle of nowhere somewhere where they're missing their loved one and they get the same generalized in the area on the next day, even though the night before could be suspicious, and they don't have the movement and the community that Sebastian has. And they're having to sit at their house, continue to miss their loved one, and accept this in the area. This is more than just Sebastian. This is the world. This is for anybody that ends up missing somebody they love. And they're in the middle of nowhere. It has no attention. And they're sitting there going, I wish we didn't have to accept this generalized in the area, but it's all we got. No, it's not. No, it's not, family in the middle of nowhere. That's why it means so much right now. I haven't had access to that CalTopo for a long time. And that's nice. They have an exact location. But how about Ellie comes out and states the time and the location? Because this is all we can go off of. Does that say in his yard? It says in the area of Stafford Court. What's wrong with the time and location? If there is, listen. If there was, then how come nobody? Why has nobody gotten a response? Why has nobody gotten one response for over 2 weeks? So hopefully tonight, tomorrow, the next day, who knows, there will be, it was at this time, at this spot. Because just like in the community post, when different people state 3 different locations, and then you add moms in there, so that's 4. When you got 4 different statements, well, which is it? Because to me, if I'm looking at all the different statements, I'm going, wait a minute, it's more than one sighting, it's multiple sightings. He went here and then here and then here. Because that's how I read it when I'm looking at the different locations. None of them say a time, just in the early morning hours is one. That's it. What's wrong with putting out a time and location? If you already have it, right? If you already have it, it should be very easy. December 19th. Hey, TBI, was it 25th or 26th? 40 minutes later, it was the 26th. All right. But it's been over 2 weeks now, and nothing? That sounds kind of odd, right? Again, Jennifer Coffindaffer. Have you heard of this in any of the investigations you've been a part of? Hey, dog, when you were chasing somebody, isn't the time and location a very key detail, just as in clothing, right? Have you ever seen this in any investigation that you've done? I doubt it. Just like I doubt it for Coffindaffer. That's why it's so important. 25th or 26th, just be honest. What if it was your child? We can't tell you what time and location. Please, talk about it. Bring it up. Discuss it. Share it. I condensed it into a 30-minute video in my video section. It goes through the community post, and I even put it in the timestamps, and you can hover above it and you can see what part I cover here and what part I cover here. And I go over through all the posts and all the statements and who said what and when they said what. So then you can go back to the community post and go, damn, he broke it down. He even did their work for him. And he's just asking which one is true and which one isn't. Because you'll see the statements of what they stated, and then you'll see multiple choice. What's true, what's not true. Last scene. That's the question that needs answered first. Before we talk about flashlights, before we talk about satellite photos, before we talk about old interviews, before we talk about all these other things, because all of these other things that we are talking about tonight can literally be a completely different conversation if we find out that that witness statement is not real. It becomes a completely different conversation. You got to do it all over again. Sebastian don't have that time. I could care less if I get it. It's about Sebastian. Maybe you can get the answer. Maybe you can be the lucky one to have somebody respond and say, you know what? Here's the time and here's the location of where he was seen. Maybe you. And if it is, thank you. Because that's the only thing that matters.
And 4.